licensing examinations, and study materials. In this section, we are going to discuss the format and content of the licensing examination, as well as the study materials and preparing for the examination. We would like to emphasize that we have extensive materials on the Law Society website setting out this information in greater detail, and this section is intended to provide an overview of this information. We recommend that all applicants review all the materials closely before beginning to study for the examination. Candidates are required to successfully complete the required licensing examinations as part of their licensing requirements. The exams measure performance on a pass-fail basis and assess whether a candidate has met the minimum standard of competency required to be licensed in Ontario. All items on the licensing examination are in multiple choice format. You must choose the best answer from 4 possible options provided. Each item has only one best answer, and you will receive credit only when you have selected the correct answer. Scores equal to or higher than the established passing mark receive a pass result. Scores lower than the passing mark receive a fail result. The licensing examination is 4 hours in length and is comprised of a total of approximately 160 multiple choice questions. Each examination is comprised of 2 parts, each of which is 2 hours in length. There is a 30-minute break between part 1 and part 2. Typically, there are exam sittings held in the summer, fall, and winter of each licensing year. The initial licensing examination and study materials fee payment deadline is posted online and is included on the invoices that you've been sent if you've already applied. The examinations are open book and self-study. The examination study materials are aligned with the required entry-level competencies that have been designed to support the self-study process. The competencies are listed on the Law Society's website, and candidates are strongly encouraged to review each competency as part of their preparation. It's worth noting that every question you will see on the licensing examination is associated with one of the listed competencies and is related to information that appears in that year's licensing examination study materials. While the examinations are currently administered online, you are still required to bring in a paper copy of the study materials for reference during the examinations, as accessing digital copies of the materials is not permitted during the examination. Before the examination, once you provide the required documentation and fees and meet the registration deadline, the Licensing and Accreditation Department will provide you with the information to schedule yourself with the exam provider. The message that will be sent to you will include the link with which you schedule your licensing examination with the provider. The Law Society does not select or assign the specific date and time for your examination within an examination window. You must do this yourself through the provider, and you must do this by the deadline posted online. The study materials for each licensing year's licensing examinations become available in the spring. Candidates who have paid for their study materials by the payment deadline for the summer exams will be able to access the study materials once they become available in the spring. Candidates are expected to access a PDF of the materials within their online account under the My Examination and Study Materials section. These tabs are to the left of your screen when you are logged into your account. Please remember that even if you study from the digital materials while you're preparing for the examination, you will not have access to digital study materials during the examination. Therefore, if you want to be able to refer to the materials during the examination, you must ensure that you print a copy of the materials and have that paper copy in the examination testing area for you to refer to. Students do not have access to the digital materials during the licensing examination sitting. The examination software will lock down your computer during the exam, so the only thing that you will be able to access on your computer is the licensing examination itself, and you are not permitted to access a second computer during the examination. Candidates must review the rules and protocol for the licensing process examinations to understand the technological requirements to write the licensing examination and the relevant rules of conduct expected of candidates before, during, and after the licensing examination sitting. Candidates who are registered for an examination must also participate in a pre-check process to ensure that their internet and equipment are sufficiently stable and up to date so that the risk of technological or other concerns before or during the licensing examination is reduced. The website also contains information on the steps to take on the day of the licensing examination. If you review the information in advance and ensure that you meet the various technological requirements, you should reduce the incidence of technological challenges on the day of the licensing examination. It is also important to note that you must meet the testing area requirements that are posted, which includes having clear walls and only the permitted items available. Please pay careful attention to prohibited actions as the consequences for not meeting the requirements can be quite serious. The exam is held in a location of your own choosing on your own laptop. The location must be quiet and private, and more specific information on selecting an appropriate site to complete your online exam is available online, along with a short video from the proctoring company relating to how to set up your testing area so that it complies with the posted requirements. If close to the day of your exam you find you are unable to write, you must defer your examination by sending a deferral form to the Licensing and Accreditation Department by the posted deadline for deferrals. The deferment form is available on the website under the Fees and Forms heading. You must submit this to the Licensing and Accreditation Department to ensure that your sitting is moved to the future sitting that you select. If you defer by the deferral deadline, any licensing examination fees paid will be transferred to that future sitting. Study strategies. We're now going to speak about key strategies and considerations to help you prepare for writing a licensing and examination. Candidates often ask our department how they can best prepare for the exams in terms of study strategies. The short answer is that you should probably use the study habits and methods that have helped you succeed thus far. There's no one best way to prepare for these exams, and the best way for you is the one that works for you. In our experience, there are almost as many studying styles as there are candidates who write the exam. As you are aware, the licensing examination is open book. There may be a misconception that you don't need to study as much for open book exams, since you're permitted to bring your materials into the examination testing area. However, this type of examination requires you to analyze and apply knowledge in specific situations. So you do need to fully understand the content and be very familiar with the study materials before you write the exam. You don't want to waste your valuable time during the exam searching through your study materials or other documents you bring with you. Rather, you want to devote your time to carefully reading each question and choosing the best answer. Although each of us learns and studies differently, there are some techniques that seem to work better than others. Consider taking a systematic approach that includes, number one, a study schedule so that you can organize your study time efficiently. Number two, effective reading and note-taking so that you'll remember what you've learned when you are writing the exam. Number three, organization of your materials in light of the open book nature of the exam. And number four, practice questions. There are some practice questions available through the online examination software. You may also wish to create some for yourself. Now let's start with the ways to organize your study time. First, it's always a good idea to begin studying early. Studying in short, manageable increments over time may be more beneficial than cramming all the material in one long study session just before the exam. Second, consider setting up and maintaining a regular study schedule. You may want to set aside a specific time of day for studying. Ideally, try to schedule study time when you are wide awake and alert. In many cases, this means not scheduling study time late at night. You're less likely to retain material when you are mentally or physically tired. And don't forget to leave room in your study schedule for unanticipated events that may require your time. Next, to help focus your study sessions, consider setting specific goals for each session. For example, you might decide to study a specific chapter or review the rules and guidelines relevant to a particular topic during a designated block of time. Taking breaks during study sessions is also a good idea. Studying requires a mental effort, so take breaks as part of your study session. For example, after studying for 50 minutes, you might want to take a 10-minute break. After 3 consecutive 1-hour blocks, you might take a longer break, perhaps half an hour, and then start the study cycle again. If a given section of material is more difficult for you, you might shorten each of the study sessions for that topic, but have more of them and take more frequent breaks. For example, for the material that is more challenging to you, you might want to study for only 20 or 30 minutes, followed by a 5-minute break. When you're studying the more challenging material, you may also want to take longer breaks after only 2 study block periods instead of 3. It's a good idea to start each study session by reviewing the material you've previously learned. Reviewing materials you have learned will help you keep knowledge fresh in your mind. If you wait too long to review the material, you may waste time trying to relearn what you knew but may have forgotten. Also, try to use the week just before the exam to review, integrate, and reinforce your understanding of the content. Turning to reading and note-taking for open book exams, let's consider how best to review the study material so that you understand and retain what you have read. This usually involves careful, active, and systematic reading. In most cases, this will mean reading the material more than once to really understand the content. To build a solid base of knowledge, you may need to read the material once to gain a general understanding and overview of the content, and then a second and third time to reinforce important concepts or to fully understand more challenging concepts. You may want to take the opportunity during these subsequent reviews to consider what types of questions you could be asked about each concept and competency, and to consider how different concepts and competencies interact and overlap with other content. It's a good idea to begin highlighting and taking notes only once you have a general understanding of what you're learning. If you start too early, you may end up highlighting or writing down too much information. So what are some of the things you can do to prepare materials for use during the exam? The goal is to organize your materials so that you can quickly access relevant information. Prior to the examination, take some time to make your study materials as user-friendly for you as possible. We have 3 suggestions for organizing your physical material. 1, use tabs or a color coding system to delineate certain subject areas and key topics. 2, prepare short, manageable summaries on selected topics. Finally, create an index or a table of contents listing key topics in corresponding pages. The point of these strategies is to help you quickly find information in your materials during the examination. So choose the method that works best for you. As you're organizing materials in the way that suits you best, bear in mind that some concepts cut across several areas of law. Lastly, don't forget to take some time to review the sample questions available on the software. Those sample questions will give you an idea of the types of questions that will be asked, the type of thinking required, and the degree of difference between correct and incorrect answers. As mentioned, once you've reviewed those sample questions, you may want to try to create some for yourself as you pass through various sections of the material. Then, a week or 2 later, go back to the questions you created and see if you remember the answers without having to take the time to look up the information. It's also important to prepare psychologically for the licensing examination. It's common to feel some anxiety before, during, and after the exam. If you start to feel overwhelmed, consider taking slow, deep breaths to relax. Calming yourself physically will help calm you emotionally. The calmer you are during the examination, the better you'll be able to concentrate. And also, don't forget the basics: getting enough sleep and exercise, maintaining good nutrition, and being active in other areas of your life, whether socially, physically, or intellectually. Knowing and understanding your material thoroughly and being well prepared will likely prove to be key features for a successful attempt at the licensing examination. On examination day, please be sure to review the website for important information regarding the day of your examination. Be sure to be on time to connect with your proctor on the scheduled date and time of your exam. This is important not only to ensure that the examination is administered smoothly, but also to give you a chance to get settled in your surroundings and relieve any anxiety that may come with having to write a licensing exam. It's important to be mentally prepared not only for the licensing examination itself, but also for unexpected circumstances that may arise. The Law Society identification card will be what you will show on examination day to your proctor in order to check in and begin your exam. It identifies you as a candidate in the process and includes your unique, confidential candidate ID number. You must keep your card and ID number private and secure. Your Law Society identification card will be mailed to the address on file with the Law Society, so I encourage you to check your online account and verify your address to ensure that it's correct and always up to date. Other items are also mailed to the physical address on file with the Law Society, so please update the address if you move. After the examination, please note that the anticipated timing for the posting of results is set out on the website. Note that results will not be released until approximately 6 to 8 weeks after the test window concludes. We will send your results to your online licensing account. Because your results are sent through your online account, you should ensure that you do not share information about your account with others. You will receive an email notifying you that your results are in your account, so there isn't a need to follow up with the office and check whether the results are out yet. The results are released for all students for a given sitting on the same day at approximately the same time. If you do find that you are unsuccessful on your examination, you may register for a future sitting. If that future sitting is within your licensing term and you have not reached the limit on the number of attempts at the licensing examination, to register for another examination, submit the registration and deferral form, which is on the fees and forms page. You have to submit that form by the required deadline for that exam sitting. Note that if you are unsuccessful on a licensing examination, you will receive a report that provides you with a visual representation of your performance on the licensing exam. That report may provide you with guidance on the areas you can work on to improve your performance for your next attempt. If you have any questions, please review the website and contact the Licensing and Accreditation Department.